After the golden monkey left, Set stood alone, adrift on the red sand under a sky with drifting clouds. It looked cold and indifferent, true to its title as the ruler of the western wastelands. But in reality, sweat was pouring down Set's face. It was too unbelievable. So he stood frozen in place. Set had thought he could absorb at least a portion of the spiritual energy, at the very least. Take away some of it. But when it glanced down into the deep abyss, there was no trace of spiritual energy left. Gone was the scene that once resembled the gates of hell. Everything had been completely taken away, leaving nothing behind. Even the souls that once resided there had vanished, leaving only emptiness. Set couldn't have predicted this outcome. Everything had been completely drained. Even the souls here were nothing but dust. A lump stuck in its throat. Well, whatever happens next, it would just have to go along with it. No turning back now. Thick smoke rose in clusters across the Crocodile City's territory. Entire stretches of lush green forest were swallowed up. A moment later, a pair of enormous, glowing eyes peered out from the darkness. Their size was astonishing. Then, those eyes narrowed, and a set of razor-sharp fangs lifted high, accompanied by a monstrous roar. The golden monkey looked as if it had been reborn into a muscle-bound beast. The only remaining trace of its former self was a tuft of golden fur on its head. The rest of its body was now massive and rock-solid, with claws sharp as daggers. An overwhelming spiritual energy radiated from its form. As it took a step forward, the very earth beneath the forest seemed to turn upside down. Small creatures, like the tiny shrimp-like beings, were caught in the tremors, tossed up and down. One of them, Badger, found itself suddenly airborne, tumbling helplessly in the sky. It was terrified upon seeing its friend's new form and could only cry out, "I'm gonna fall to my death! Help me! Golden monkey!" But the golden monkey, breathing in the high-altitude air, couldn't hear Badger's plea. Just in time, a wild boar friend charged out from the forest, using its thick fur to cushion Badger's fall. Even so, the entire forest was thrown into chaos, losing all semblance of its original form. Suddenly, a column of smoke shot straight up into the sky, separating from the thick haze caused by the cracked earth. It seemed as if something had risen from the abyss, unexpectedly. It was Sigma, battered and tattered, barely clinging to life. His wounds were severe, and as he ascended, he gasped for air like a dog panting in the summer heat. Yet, one of his crimson eyes still burned. It meant he was still alive. But he had no idea what had just happened. The dust was too thick to see through. All he could sense was that the spiritual energy of that filthy, fur-covered monkey had suddenly skyrocketed to an unimaginable level. Before he could even locate the monkey, a golden streak of light shot towards him at breakneck speed, slamming directly into his body. He looked like a tiny crab desperately clinging to a rocky shore to avoid the waves. But there was no escaping this onslaught. The golden beam pierced through 3 or 4 mountain ranges, shattering their peaks and summits before sending Sigma flying far beyond the horizon. As he struggled to lift his head, the air around him suddenly shifted violently. The golden hand, champion of transformations, rushed in with overwhelming force, much like someone swatting a mosquito. The only difference was that the owner of this hand was using a tremendous amount of power. With a single devastating blow, the earth turned upside down. The golden monkey's eyes widened in disbelief, as if the force of its strike had carried every ounce of its strength. The aftershock was so immense that the wild boar had to struggle to carry its friend, Badger, to safety. The moment their feet touched the ground, the earth cracked and collapsed beneath them, their short legs working tirelessly to evade the destruction. Sigma wasn't just suffering from physical damage, he was being completely crushed by the sheer force of the spiritual energy surrounding him. His entire body was being flattened, leaving only his glowing red eye. as he gritted his teeth and screamed curses into the air. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! What kind of cursed land is this? Even running away is a nightmare! Time and time again, he had encountered enemies who utterly destroyed him. The battle raged on, shaking the heavens. As Sigma grew weaker, the golden monkey finally stepped back, preparing for its next move. It stepped forward, revealing itself from the dust and rubble, while Sigma's form had completely transformed. Previously, he had resembled a reptilian beast, one that had stolen its form from the fangs of the emperor crocodile. But now, his body was different. His skin pulsed with massive, protruding veins, each one standing out in sharp relief. He was furious with himself, blaming his own hesitation for holding back instead of fighting to the death against this wretched opponent. No more, he seethed. You damn dirty monkey, today, I will kill you! It was unclear whether Sigma had actually smelled the golden monkey before calling it dirty, but the monkey itself didn't care. It was fighting in a different state now, focused solely on destruction. With its back turned to the entrance of the tunneling device, the golden monkey stood guard, knowing that Sigma intended to steal something from inside. It wasn't going to let that happen. Beneath the towering beast, close companions stood frozen in awe. They weren't thinking about running away. Every time the golden monkey swung its arm, the very sky and earth seemed to tremble. Yet the two leopards could only stare in amazement, whispering to each other. So big. So incredibly huge. Not only was the golden monkey massive in size, but it was also incredibly agile. With just a light flick of its tail, a deafening rumble echoed behind it. The monkey's tail, like a whip, struck down, leaving deep dents wherever it landed. Sigma felt uneasy. Why hadn't the monkey attacked him directly? It wasn't until the tail lunged straight toward the teleportation gate that he realized its true intention. The creature was aiming to destroy the teleportation gate. Stop! Sigma roared in frustration. They had been fighting for so long without even touching the gate. Yet now the monkey was attacking it? Sigma needed that gate intact. It was his only way to report back and salvage the death of his best friend. He needed something to please his superior. Boom! The teleportation gate shattered into pieces. Sigma was furious. His last hope was crushed before his very eyes. At this point, it was either kill or be killed. He couldn't let this grudge go. With a furious roar, he launched himself straight at the golden monkey. I'll kill you! Sigma's sharp green claws were deadly. If they pierced flesh, it would be an instant trip to the afterlife. But he seemed to have forgotten. Every move of the golden monkey was calculated. It had been waiting for him to charge in like this. Its fist clenched tightly, golden energy bursting out as its muscles tensed. The monkey delivered a punch straight into Sigma's stomach, making his body fold in on itself. A brief moment of compression. Then, boom! The impact sent Sigma hurtling into the sky. From below, he looked like a struggling lizard, flailing as he tried to regain control of his body. But the pain was overwhelming, blood spraying from his mouth. His hatred burned brighter than ever. But Sigma wasn't done yet. He still had more tricks up his sleeve. A brilliant glow erupted in the sky as strange, tiny projectiles shot from Sigma's body. At first, they were small, but as they traveled, they grew larger, until they were the size of leaves. Their tips sharpened into deadly daggers, numbering in the hundreds, ready to rain down upon the golden monkey. The monkey saw it all. To be honest, defense wasn't its strong suit. Its skin was tough, but aside from its fur, it had no real armor. A direct hit from these daggers could be fatal. Sigma knew this. He sent them all down at once. A dazzling rain of death. Pray that your flesh is thick enough, or you'll be turned into a beehive, Sigma sneered. Badger and wild boar, watching in horror, screamed in unison, "Run! Golden monkey! You can't block that!" But the mutant beast didn't move. It simply stood there, watching the deadly scene unfold. Sigma grinned. Finally, the monkey had given up. But suddenly, the golden monkey tilted its head back and spat something out, a sharp beak, like that of a bird. Its color was deeper than the monkey's usual golden fur. Then, feathers burst forth from its body. For a moment, it looked as if reinforcements had arrived. But no. A massive pair of wings unfolded from its golden fur. Each feather was enormous, and in an instant, the wings formed a complete shield around its body. The storm of daggers struck the feathers, but instead of piercing through, they simply clanged off with metallic ringing sounds. Sigma was stunned. How? From above, the golden monkey looked bizarre, clearly a monkey. Yet it now had wings like an eagle, with a powerful flap. It sent all the daggers and needles flying away. Then, from its beak, it took a deep breath. Swirling energy gathered inside, colliding with the last wave of Sigma's attack. Boom! A violent explosion shook the sky. Badger and Wild Boar had no choice but to flee, barely dodging the falling debris. That was close! We almost became roasted pork skewers! Wild Boar gasped. As they ran, a shadow suddenly loomed over them. They looked up. Sigma was plummeting from the sky, smoke trailing from his body. With a heavy crash, he slammed into the ground, his limbs splayed in the air. Before he could get up, a powerful foot stomped down on his chest, pinning him in place. Sigma's vision was filled with an overwhelming presence. No longer a simple golden monkey, before him stood a creature that resembled an ancient Egyptian god. A bird-headed, winged deity with the body of a warrior, radiating raw power. Sigma, the so-called god of creation, found himself unable to create anything that could save him now. In frustration, he bellowed, "You can't kill me! I am a god! You damn monkey!" But suddenly, something emerged from the monkey's beak. A boar's head. At first, Sigma thought the monkey had swallowed his friend. But no, the head had golden hair, just like the monkey itself. Sigma had no time to react. He poured all his energy into a desperate final attack, just as he had done before against close-range opponents. But from the other side, another surge of energy erupted to counter it. "You think I'm afraid of you?" The monkey's energy tore through Sigma's defenses and struck him square in the mouth.